Hello, everybody. I think you might recognize us from Nerds Know Sports, but we have a recent news update. We have been bought out
Yes.
by Yelling Will Ensue, who is sponsored by us.
So, how much are we getting?
Nothing.
That.
We asked for nothing and we got nothing. So, Yelling Will Ensue is now the main show for our podcasting and is also our actual name now. How do you guys feel about that?
I think it's appropriate for the type of discussions that we have. So
I think it will go on long, especially when we get into some topic. We're going to find out why that name was chosen.
Well, the original idea was that I approached myself with the idea that I would like to show the camera a sign that said Yelling Will Ensue before things get a little too dicey. Now, I don't have a sign made, so I'm waiting for that check from myself for $0. But, so, what is the main focus of Yelling Will Ensue? It'll be about just about anything. The only thing that you can expect is it's going to get loud, people.
So, if you're wearing headphones, make sure it's not on too loud.
I would actually highly recommend you lower it a bit. It's going to get loud here, folks. So, it's,
You could blame that one.
you can definitely blame me. Alright. Now that that's out of the way, so today's topic is cosplay. Specifically, is cosplay too nerdy?
say what?
What? Record scratch. So, this all started off with Jesus talking to us about, why don't you introduce the idea of cosplay being too nerdy? You said your parents.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So honestly, what happened to me was I was getting dropped off at multiple anime conventions. I've had it happen a couple times by my family. It was when I had just graduated, so I was still at home with my parents, and they would go to the convention and they'd say, "What is up with all these people dressed up as either comic book characters or cartoon characters?" What just like a regular anime convention, you always see dressed up in every type of media you can think of, from TV shows, like I said, anime, video games, and they would make fun of me for it and just start talking about how nerdy or goofy it was. Because my first convention that I went to, I personally dressed up as well. I went as Luigi, and my family kept making fun of me, and still makes fun of me to this day about that. So it got me to think: is cosplay too nerdy, or is it something that's...
Well, if you're looking for us to answer this question today, you went to the wrong podcast.
When I was in the question?
Well, we're ending the episode right now. We'll answer the question. It's just that we might not have the answer that you might be looking for. So we'll break down the question and we'll move from there. So, is cosplay too nerdy? So what first and foremost, what is cosplay?
Alright, the basic idea of cosplay is that it's when a person chooses a character from, like I said, it can be an anime, video game, TV show, movie, just about anything, book, and you choose to dress up as that character, and you go out, usually to a convention, or sometimes, like I know in Japantown has the Cherry Blossom Festival. I see a lot of people cosplaying there too. But you just go around, dress up as your favorite characters. A lot of people like to act like their favorite character when they're doing it too, so that's the basic idea.
I mean, the idea of cosplay is that it's half costume, half role play. Yeah. So how is it different from maybe something like dressing up on Halloween?
I think the biggest difference between Halloween and cosplaying is that Halloween, a lot of the times people it's not taken as seriously a lot of the times, and the type of costumes are usually a lot different too. For when you're going out on Halloween or trick-or-treating, a lot of times it involves masks. There's just scary things and things like that for the most part. I mean, some people will just...
True. But you can't forget that they get candy.
Yeah.
What person would want free candy?
That's true. The incentive behind Halloween is definitely very different. I mean, if you're for Halloween, most of the time you're dressing up either to go trick or treating, or sometimes in a Halloween parties is the other big thing. But when you're cosplaying, a lot of times you're just going to have fun with your friends. You like some people, a lot of people like getting pictures taken. So I mean, you go have a lot of fun. You meet other cosplayers that are a lot of times doing the same, maybe a different character from the same show or something like that. You can get a group together, get group shots. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do with cosplay that you won't necessarily do on Halloween. Like I know on Halloween, I've never gone around and like, oh look, there's another character from this movie. I mean, let's go take pictures with this person, or let's do this. I mean, it's a little different.
So you definitely feel like there's kind of like a communal thing about cosplaying? I mean, yeah, definitely so. Like, I think, you mentioned going to conventions. It's a little different because, it's like when you go to a Halloween party, you see someone dressed like what you are. You don't necessarily like, well, I'm going to hang out with that guy or gal, like, for the rest of the night. It's just kind of like, oh, that's cool. Move on. I mean, maybe it's a little different if, like, you go as, you said you went as Luigi.
Yeah, I saw Mario.
Exactly. See, it's a little different.
Or Princess Daisy or something. That's a little different.
It's a little different. But, so, we've all been to anime conventions and things of the sort. And actually, actually getting into cosplay is really freaking hard. It's a lot of time and effort to put in. And do you feel like that has something to do with people thinking it's a little too nerdy?
It probably is a big part of it. I mean, they even had a show about it where it was Heroes of Cosplay that showed how dedicated some of the people have to be. Like, if you're someone that's really serious about cosplaying, you spend hours and hours making your work. I've seen cosplayers. I met Giada Robin at SAC Anime, and then at her panel, she was telling us how long some of the things would take to make. It would take weeks, months. It just depended. I mean, it's a lot of work.
As your point, it says, I got to talk to a few cosplayers that were doing a project on Anime Expo, and I was fortunate that some of them were willing to let me interview them. And some I met were making a costume from one of the old anime that were more metal based. So one of the clothes you can't use metal, but they could place you can't
use live steel.
So she was telling me it took her like a year and a half to complete only the outside shell of it. Basically, they take a lot of time because they want everything to be almost perfect and not very similar to the ideal character design.
I mean, yeah, it's got to look, realistic, but it can't actually be real. So that's like the hardest part because, hardest part with going to conventions versus like maybe a Halloween party is if you wanted to get like something like weapon based. You can't. It's got to be guidelines. It can't be too much better. If you're going to like your friend's party, that's not. They're usually more lax as long as you don't hurt somebody, right? So I think we talked a little bit about Halloween versus going to a convention. I think one interesting thing is to consider. He for Halloween went as Joe Montana.
Entire Joe Montana. I had jeans.
He put on pants and a jersey, and he was Joe Montana. And what I'm getting at is, it's pretty easy for people to wear jerseys. Like, they're not necessarily like claiming to be that person unless it's Halloween. But if you're wearing a jersey at an anime convention, you're like, I went as Joe Montana for whatever convention, right? So like. How do you feel about the idea that a lot of people put time and effort into like making a costume for an event? So like, we talked about this a little bit, but like, when Star Wars came out, people dressed up as Star Wars characters. So like, how do you feel about the fact that people put a lot of time and effort into that, and that's considered dirty versus like, people at sports, like part of the solidarity is wearing a jersey. Like, part of an issue for people is that they can't really understand how these two things kind of relate to one another. So how do you feel about that? I mean, you're wearing...
I don't know. As a person who I wear jerseys all the time. I wear basketball jerseys, football jerseys, baseball. So for me, it's completely understandable, the cosplay thing, because like, it's not very different. I mean, for when you're wearing someone's jersey, you're wearing it because you like them. You want to be like them. So I mean, it's not very different from a cosplay where you're trying to dress up as someone that a character that you admire or really enjoyed seeing in the series. So I mean, putting in the effort to be able to do that, I think it's really admirable because it takes a lot of commitment. It's not something you can just go in and just say, you know what, today I feel like I'm going to cosplay. It's something that you actually have to come there and sit there and be like, I'm going to cosplay, so I'm going to put in the work. I'm going to go buy the materials. I'm going to work with these materials.
I'm not attention to what you're saying right there. How about people that I know they've been a topic that been discussed in a lot of my group about people that buy the cosplay. The idea you're talking about people who put in time, they could do the same thing as someone buying the jersey.
Yeah, honestly, that too. I mean, I don't think it's too bad. I don't think it's a bad thing when people buy their cosplay because, like I said, the biggest thing with cosplay for me is that it's supposed to be fun. You're supposed to go and enjoy yourself. I don't think one person should hate on someone else because they bought their cosplay versus seeing someone who actually took the time to make their own. I mean, it's a situation where both are fine. Both can come out looking really nice. So as long as you're having fun and you're doing what you want to do, like if you're enjoying dressing up as that character, but some people like me, I don't have the creative ability to go out and actually physically make some of the things. So like when I first the first and only cosplay I've done is Luigi, and I did that because it's simple. I mean, when I shave off my goatee, I have a big mustache. My hair is really fluffy and big like Luigi, so I could just get a green shirt, jeans and stuff, and then a hat, and I fit the part. But I mean, certain things like I wouldn't be able to make armor or anything like that. So I mean, I don't see the problem with buying it or having someone else make it for you. It's a situation if you can't do it yourself. I mean.
Which is understandable. I don't want to point that out. I know you mentioned making it. I want to know what your view was about people who buy it. So basically, same thing buying a jersey. Similar.
Yeah, it's very similar to that.
I mean, I definitely feel like like when I went for Halloween as Hunk from Resident Evil. I couldn't afford or find or make a mask, but everything else was just bought. Like I already had like a vest for airsofting, and I had all this stuff. But like, I think part of it shouldn't be. It's like kind of like a weird thing where it's kind of half Halloween, half cosplay, I guess. Because it's like on Halloween, a lot of times people just buy their costume, or they'll like put in effort. Like I don't know, like this year I went as Devon Dudley. Because I look just like him, but like it's like because that was an easy one. I got a wrestling tee. I popped the lenses out of a pair of glasses, and I got like I kind of taped up my arms and my hand, and then like ta-da, I'm Devon Dudley. And then I got the tables, but he looked like he really wanted to say something, but like so.
I was involved when he got the tables.
Yeah, no, he hit me and told me to get the tables. But it's like so. Like I think like if you buy a cosplay, but you put the effort to like act like the character, I think that's fine. Because again, half of it is costume, half of it is acting. Because I mean, we knew somebody who was very dedicated to their costume and went to a restaurant, and the character they cosplayed as didn't talk. And they wrote on a piece of paper their order for the restaurant. Didn't talk the entire time. That is dedication right there. But I mean, that person also made their costume. But like, even if they bought it, it's not even like a big deal because that's commitment. It's like acting like that character. Because like, I think the problem with Halloween versus like going to a convention or an event or whatever as the character is that like. You don't have to act like that character. You just are the character, because part of it is just like kind of a conversation starter, or it's like, hey, you're whoever, right? And like, yeah, it's not like, hey, let me get a picture with you. You're like, oh man, you went as Luigi, man, that's awesome. Let me get a picture of Luigi. Like, hey, you do me a favor and act like Luigi for me, man. Like, it's a little different. But when you go to conventions, like people pose for photos, like it's kind of relatively realistic to how that character would act.
Yeah.
And also, like it's part of the appeal of people wanting to take a picture of a cosplayer and to cosplay, because like I'm the same way, man. I can't make much. Like I have tried, but it's a lot of money and it's a lot of effort, man. Like learning to sew it's tough, but
I think yours are easy. What I want to do for life, we're told we're not allowed. I want to legitimately a full Spartan armor, working with metal.
You can't.
But
you can't do that.
But I couldn't. But even if I had to work with something that's similar to metal, that I had to do some metal work on it.
You would have to learn to do that, and I've done it a few times. It's a big process on you. It's a lot of drawing. It's a lot of like conceptual like phases before you get it basically exactly how you want it. But I mean, I think the most like for me, I like to actually act. I'm not a dramatist, like whatever, but I like to act like. So like being part of the appeal of cosplay for me was like being able to act like the character, because it's like I like the character, so it's like I want to act like the character. But in terms of talking about, let's get back on topic, is it too nerdy? I feel like it's definitely a hobby. Like I know plenty of people who put time and effort into this, and part of it is like kind of therapeutic to have something to work on. So like an old idea was people would have like that thing they're making, like maybe like they're building a table or they're building a chair or they're like working on their boat, like stuff like that. For cosplayers, a lot of things are like, hey, it's part of like the stress, like not the stress, not that it fuels them with stress, but it helps rid them of stress, is that it's something a little bit repetitive. And you know what, it's like hey, I feel great because I made this, and I'm so excited, I can't wait till I wear this, like but how do you feel about the idea that it's basically just like another avenue for people with like, in terms of like a hobby?
Honestly, it is definitely a big hobby for a lot of people out here. There's so many anime conventions out here, so you have so many different avenues to be able to actually go and showcase what you've done, whether you bought a costume or you made it yourself. There's so many conventions, not just in California, but throughout the entire United States. I follow some cosplayers on Twitter and other social media sites, and you see the schedules that they post of all these different conventions, and I'm like, wow, there's conventions everywhere. There's always places for you to showcase this, or you can just do that. You can have a social media site and do the same thing, just showcase it to everyone. So I think it's a perfect hobby for some people, because they get to showcase their ability. They get to, like you said, just have something that they can do every day that they can work on. Kind of like you said, like back in the days, people would build things like chairs and tables and stuff.
Well, like you could also like play instruments and things like that, but it's definitely like kind of more of a, I guess, constructing hobby. Sure. So how do you feel about this?
Well, it is a hobby, but at the same time, it seems like it could be a little more than a hobby. Like almost everything. Cause like we seen. I know I follow a few cosplayers on social media, Twitter, Facebook. I don't know about you. Mentioned you did. I don't know about you, Alan.
I don't.
Well, ideally, but some of them.
I don't.
But ideally,
don't get me hyped up, man. I'm gonna yell at you. Yelling Will Ensue.
Back to the point, but I know we've seen a few of them who actually make a career out of it. They actually make a living from doing it. Perfect example is the one who won the Lollipop Chainsaw contest, Jessica Negri. When she won it, after that we saw more cosplaying of her. She was at Anime Expo last year, but she was there all 3 days. But she was working for a certain booth, so you only certain amount of people to see her a day. And every time I tried to go see, the tickets went out. Well, I went right there when the door opened. They say we're out for the day.
So this is actually an interesting thing I was gonna bring up, because we're just talking about cosplay. Is how do you feel about the fact that okay, so let me preface this with a story. So I went to Hong Kong, and there was a Asia game show, and there was people cosplaying, obviously, because it's like basically a convention. But the interesting part was, booths had people in cosplay, but the way the cosplay people seemed, it didn't seem like they were hired to cosplay. It felt more like
Modeling?
not even modeling. Like, okay, so like, you know how video games have booth babes,
Yeah.
in, you know, car shows have models, and you know, things of this nature. It felt not like that. It actually felt like an employee might have been told, hey, we need someone to get in this costume.
Yeah.
And that's what ended up happening. And there's no confirmation for this, obviously. But how do you feel about the idea that, like, let's say we were promoting something, and somebody's like, well, we got this, you know, he wants to be Master Chief. It's like, well, we got this Master Chief thing, and Jacob isn't available, so Jesus getting the Master Chief armor right now. How do you feel about something where, I don't care if you're offended.
No, but to be honest, when someone offers you want to be Matt Chief costume, how many people would say no? You have a chance to be Matt Chief.
Depends.
I think it's a little different for guys versus girls, because a lot of times guys don't have to be forced into like revealing cosplays and stuff. With girls, a lot of times, if you notice, that a lot of times that is what tends to happen in situations where they're forced into it. Like they'll end up being forced into things that may not be what they're most comfortable with. So I think it's a little bit different in that situation.
I think also, though, most cosplayer, usually the main cosplaying characters usually are from anime. That I see most. I see video games too, and from movies, but not as much when we convention to. I do anime convention. Of course, I'm gonna see anime characters, right? I also giving an idea that the new anime, more of the time the girls are more revealing. Like how all the cosplay I saw and took a picture with and picture of were Sailor Moon cosplay. You wear the sailor outfit, skirt, boots, and then or heel depending on the sailor style, and they basically a one piece. Compared to some of the other anime we've seen that basically bikini, which there have been a few of those.
That's a little more risque.
Yeah.
But I mean, so like, part of the story is that it wasn't anything revealing. It was a Madoka Magica character, but the person didn't seem as. Yeah, because they're holding a sign, and then I was like, "Can I get a picture?" And they're like, and they had a smile for the picture.
Yeah.
But like, this is actually leads me to my next question. So the difference between like maybe wearing a jersey and going to cosplay is that you can't really act like yourself while you're wearing a costume, because it's costume role play. You're role playing as a character. So like, I think the most unfortunate part is some people get in a situation where people like, I want, like, you know, when we were freshmen in our anime club, they had a talk about cosplaying, like do's and don'ts.
Yeah.
And part of that was not just what you should do as a cosplayer, but also what you should do as someone who interacts with cosplayers. And the most interesting part was that when is it appropriate to take a photo of people? Like, if it's one thing where it's like, if people are eating, completely inappropriate, just snap photos. If they're, you can ask, that's a little different.
Yeah, I thought that was always the common sense. You want to when I was doing a lot of picture and anime expo, if I see someone cosplaying a character I like, I always ask them before I took pictures, you can take a picture.
Yeah.
And she showed. And then one time, I didn't want to buy her, but she was sitting there and she wouldn't really leave without her high heels.
Yeah.
She was dressing up as one of the princesses. And I asked, from Sailor Moon, I asked her, can I take a picture of you? And she told me, oh, yeah. She said, yeah, give me some time to put on my heel.
Oh.
So I waited for 5 minutes,
Yeah.
and she was nice enough to let me take a picture. But I thought that was the common sense to actually ask the cosplay to before you take a picture.
I mean, there's something
Yeah.
to be said about etiquette, definitely
Yeah.
so. But like, I think, you know, it's something where it's like, you know, like you gotta break character eventually. You can't be in character the entire time. That's the hardest part about, you know, for, I don't know, like me or you or anybody, you know, we're all playing characters and then we have to break character. But
Unlike your Snorlax. Technically, you could be
I mean, but the problem with Snorlax is, I guess you're always in character. You're either sleeping or you're moving
or eating.
But what I mean is more like, you know, it's tough because it's partially role play. You know, you can't. You gotta take breaks. The the interesting part about that discussion was also like, you can kind of tell when somebody's still in character. Like, the example was L from Death Note eats in a certain way.
Yeah.
So if the person is sitting like L, and L sits in a very distinct, like you couldn't accidentally sit like L. He sits, his feet are on the chair, and he's high up, and he eats things like this. And the example included he's legitimately eating sweets because L likes sweets or whatever, right? And he's eating it like it. If it's a situation like that, generally speaking, they're probably in character, but like, otherwise it's like don't bother these people. They're just here to have a fun time too. But like, how do you feel about the fact that like we talked about somebody who stayed in character the entire time, but like, how do you feel about the fact that like if people want to break character and some people can be a little like I wanted you to do this or whatever, like.
Honestly, I think it's a personal decision if you want to stay in character the entire time. I mean, that's really, really hard when you're at an anime convention, because most of us, when I go to an anime convention, I know I'm there from usually as soon as I know things are open until late at night. And last time actually at the con, I stood there all night, and there was plenty of people there. It wasn't like I was the only one there. There was plenty of people there. So, it's going to be almost impossible to stay in character the entire time. So if someone's been there is there and they don't want to be in character at that specific time, that's on them. If that's okay, that's a personal decision. We shouldn't get mad at them for not being in character. Most of the time people are really nice. Most cosplayers that I've met have been really, really nice. So if I ask them to take a picture and I say, can you do this pose or if I want to take a video of them saying like a catchphrase from the show, most of the time they're really nice about it and they'll say yeah. So even if they're out of character at the time, if you're just nice and be very polite and stuff and just say, can you please, don't just be like, hey, I wanted you to do this. If you're polite about it, most of the time most cosplayers they're happy to do those things for you. So but if you see them walking around and they're being normal, that's fine. You gotta remember, these are people too, so.
Cosplayers are people too.
Yeah, you gotta remember that. They're just like you, so.
That should be a hashtag.
It should.
But, I had this similar idea, like, one, it's up to them when they want to be in character. Two, as the person who not in cosplay, you should respect them and they don't proud for actually doing it. So I asked them, like, if they're eating, I'm not bothering them, pretend they're eating, they're busy, right? But I see them again, I don't ask them if they're not eating. But one of the things that I always do when I ask someone to take a picture, I've been to Anime Expo 2 years in a row. Mm-hmm. Every time I ask them for a picture, I had never gotten a no. So they really love doing it. Mm-hmm. And then one time I asked a girl who was dressing up as what's her name, Yoko from Going Login.
Yes.
Yeah, she had the whole gear with the sniper on there, and I asked her a picture. She showed, and she asked me what stance, right? And so she told me like more people ask her for something stance, right? To me, I don't like it being pushy. So to me, I just enjoy the opportunity in a picture, right? I told whatever stand you feel you want to be, take your cut, alright? And she said okay, and she gave me the typical one with the rifle on the shoulder. So I know like if they're in cut or they enjoy being in cut or I don't like telling them what to do. Like Aaron said, you could tell when someone cut or say or not. So I usually let them go on with it. I'm not going to stop them for a certain way because I want it. And not it disrespecting what they're doing if they don't cut and be disrespecting for all the hard work they did. So I had to go along with it. They're nice enough to let me take a picture. That's great. I got a picture and I appreciate it.
I think one of the funniest things that I remember happened at Fanime was the gaming staff not almost all of them, but a good portion of them did cosplay, and one guy was Uncle from Jackie Chan Adventures, and they were like, they were like, hey, can we get console? And he said in the voice, no, you cannot get console. And it was great because part of that was you could tell they had a great time, but also because it helps with passing the time working at an anime convention. But so we talked a little bit about buying cosplays versus like making them. So like this is one thing I found interesting is how do you feel about like people who the cosplay has a certain amount of effort to specifically look bad. So, for instance, there's like people like like on the internet, there's a joke where it's like, which one's better, and then one guy has like an Iron Man suit that looks pretty legit, and the other guy is in a box, like he's in a cardboard box. Like how do you feel about like people who, specifically the idea was to make a bad cosplay? Like, how, do you like think that's funny? Do you think that obviously you think it's funny, but how do you feel about that?
I guess most of the time I think it's pretty funny because most of the ones that I've seen have been pretty clever and stuff like that. So it gets to a situation where I try not to judge cosplays too much. I mean, I think that as long as what you're doing is making you happy and you're having fun, that's the cosplay for you. I don't think it comes down to how nice it looks or, like I said, if it was bought or if it was made. I mean, if you're in a cardboard box as cardboard box man instead of Iron Man, I mean if that's what you want to do it. Go for it. I mean, cosplay, like I said, the biggest thing with cosplay is that it's supposed to be fun, and I think a lot of people, especially from the outside of the community and inside, just forget that it's something that people do to have fun, to enjoy themselves. I mean, if you want to be Iron Man for a day or whatever character for that day, I mean, do it. I think that's the biggest thing.
I agree with him too, but let them do what they want and they're happy with it. That was more important. Yeah, they do something like the whole Iron Man box thing. Yeah, more likely, let's be honest. He probably didn't put that much effort in because he wanted to.
Yeah.
So even you probably could color it or do something.
Yeah.
He wanted the thing that he wanted that he was doing it as that just because he thought it would be funny and he probably thought it would be awesome going around like that.
Who wore it better?
But ideally, I know most cosplay do the better try to look very similar or not identical to the cosplay, and that should be what it is. Let them be happy, right? Like, let's be honest. One of my favorite anime is Sailor Moon.
Yes.
And of course, when I see Sailor Moon cosplay, I basically stop everyone I see. But because I've seen some that done it different but the thing is, they already did the main costume on point.
Yeah.
And to them, that was the key. I only look very similar to them. They're happy with. Right? I saw some girls who went with normal hair, as for example, Sarah Yonis, the new one coming back to a lot of people talking about the Sarah styles.
What? So they all kind of have a distinct hairstyle / color. Which one was Uranus?
The other one is the short blonde one.
Okay, the cousin.
Yeah.
Yeah, the cousins.
Yeah.
Quotes.
You know.
Yes. If you know what we're talking about.
If you're a '90s kid, you know.
You know what we're talking about. I know some who the wear the normal haircut. I know some who bought a wig. I actually met some who actually bleached the color that they did the matching of it.
Wow.
Yeah. So they all love what they're doing. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And it's not about comparing, it's about them enjoying it and then putting the effort into the work, the cosplay, the work, right?
I mean, I definitely, like, you bring up a couple, like, interesting things. Like, for instance, like, we talked about how, like, I didn't bring up the fact that I went as Devon Dudley for Halloween, but we were talking about how, he went as Luigi, he's not Italian, and I went as a Dudley boy, and there's no Asian Dudley boy. But how do you feel about because the problem with cosplays is a lot of people kind of be like, well, you should cosplay with a certain body type or a certain look. Like, how do you feel about things like that?
Again, like my biggest thing with cosplay is that it's the whole point of it is just to have fun. I mean, I see that happen a lot of times because I'm on forums for certain cons and like Facebook groups for certain cons and stuff like that, where people that we always get into, not me in particular, but there's always a lot of people on there I get into really big arguments about that. I mean, that's one of the dividing issues right now with cosplay is that should you be cosplaying something, whether it's for your body type, your race, your height, so I mean everything. I mean, it's just, and that's a tough issue to tackle in my opinion. I think you should just do what makes you happy, and if you're not safe like us, for none of us are really buff, but if we wanted to go cosplay as some Dragon Ball Z character, like a shirtless Goku or something,
No, definitely.
then I mean, power to us. I mean, it's fine. I mean,
obviously tall Krillin. Come on.
But I mean,
You wanna shave
but
your head?
exactly. That's
With hair, GT Krillin.
But yeah, that's my point. That's the thing I'm saying. Though. I think that you should just do what makes you happy. But like I said, that's one of the big dividing issues among fans of cosplay. I see people that argue saying that you have to stick to what matches your specific body. I see people saying what I say, but I mean like I said, in my opinion, I think it's just to have fun. We're all nerds doing this. I mean, we're all people that, I mean, we all have this like the same thing. So I mean, we need to stick together and not mash on each other. So just let everyone cosplay what they want.
Cosplayers are people too, y'all.
Yes,
Yeah.
cosplayers are people too.
Well, that topic is very interesting one that he talks about all the time in the groups I'm in. One time an argument about people like body size or like some like actually one person got kicked out of my group for body shaming because of it. A little heavier ago went and dressed up as Sailor Moon.
Okay.
Yeah, I pay attention to my Sailor Moon cosplay, to be honest.
No, but I mean.
Yeah, but the whole idea.
No,
Yeah. But one person kept shaming her, a girl, because she think you don't have the right body type, right? Or like, while the girl is petite and actually have a picture of her dressing up as Sailor Moon in her profile picture.
Okay.
So ideally, she trying to shame me how Sailor Moon should look like, which not appropriate. That's your opinion, but no right to shame them. Yeah, you should know the time, oh, you showing blah blah blah. Right, I understand that, but I agree. You should let them be down. Now, like one of us want to dress about Goku. We of course don't look like Goku, like in shape wise, but ideally, we could go if we want to how we want. That's what we want to do, and I respect people should be okay with it. That we're doing what we want to do, and we enjoy it, and we put work into it. One of the better things, and then speaking of
Actually, I have a question. Besides obviously the body type, was everything else on
point? Yes.
For,
She worked perfectly match. She even bought a wig to do the the meatballs or the bun head. Which one? Yeah, we don't buy the new dub or the old dub or the old sub. I don't know which one the sub anymore.
Onion rings. They look like onion rings.
But onion rings have holes in them. Oh wow.
They're jelly donuts, obviously.
Yeah.
But she was on point. She even had the wig and she had the boots. So that the only thing she will point out is the body shape. And then I have a question actually, since we're talking about cosplay, right? Is that people are complaining about skin color. I know a lot of people who are African American descent who dressing up and all that talk about people that on them because you can't dress them because you don't
You're black.
And which isn't white. So how you ever seen? You probably seen that more in chats a lot.
Yeah.
How you ever actually heard about that or saw that?
Me personally, no. Because I mean, look, like I have the fortune of being Asian, tall Krillin from GT, but
You be
Yamcha. Nobody wants to be Yamcha. But what I'm saying is like, it's never been an issue for me. I mean, because like what I like to dress up as is, I wanna do things that are more like the character is never specifically like explained to be of a certain race. So like I like to do masks a lot. Like so I wanted to do like one year I wanted to do Amon from Legend of Korra.
Yeah.
he's Asian eventually. But when I wanted to do it, we didn't know.
Yeah.
We didn't know because I like him on with the mask. I don't care about him on without the mask. But like that's not an issue. Like Hump, we're not even sure what he looks like. It has nothing to do with a race or anything like that. So like I for me, that's how I lean towards. But it's like, look, like for instance, going as like Devon, like I don't have a shaved head, I'm not black, and whatever. But it's like, for me, I think it's if you put as much effort into it to a point where you can tell, regardless of race, this is who they're going for. I don't think it matters.
Yeah, it should.
About the race, like. Yeah. So like because I think.
Because I know you talk about body type and body shape. It's very similar to the whole discrimination as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So I thought it would be a good thing to bring up that you have an idea of.
I mean, again, you wanted an Italian plumber for cosplay, and you're not Italian or a plumber. You're a liar.
Hey.
But like...
I just want to point out that Luigi's hair sticks out of the back of his hat just like that my hair sticks out of the back of his hat.
But you know what I mean, like, how do you feel about that? Like, did anybody come up to you like, hey, yo, bro, you ain't Italian, like, what's going on?
I think I was fortunate in the fact that, like I said, the biggest thing was, one, the back of my hair curls up just like Luigi and Mario does. When I shaved off my goatee, my mustache was really, really thick. So, I mean, the two most defining features of Luigi and Mario are pretty much their hair and their mustache. So, I mean, I think I was lucky, just no one said anything about the color of my skin because of that. I mean, my mustache and the hair were pretty much on point to what Luigi is. I mean, I had the right color green shirt, I had blue jeans, and I mean, I had the hat. So I think I was fortunate. I didn't have to deal with anything like that.
Didn't have to jump high.
People asked me to jump, yeah, actually. Yeah. And I had these two girls that were dressed up as Booze, the ghost, who kept following me around the convention, and every time I turned around, they would just stop. So my cosplay experiences, because I did it, I've gone to Fanime, I think 4 out of the last 5 years, and the same with SAC Anime. I've gone pretty much every time for like 5 years now. And every time I've cosplayed, I've had nothing but good experiences. I haven't had anyone come up to me and say anything yet.
The one trick I have for you, when you cosplay Luigi, when you jump, can you hover?
No.
He wasn't the one that hovered. Peach hovered.
No, Luigi lasts longer.
Luigi, yeah, he
Luigi is longer, but
but it's hard to hover. No, she floats. But she moves.
Luigi
hover, he hovers.
He hovers in space. Like you see his little feet just dangle and they just go.
So is a Yoshi.
Kind of. Whoa! He goes and you see his feet. It's really cool.
Okay, so like you also brought up the fact that everything's kind of like to Ace's like hair. Some people would do like the whole 9 yards. Like they'll dye hair or they'll get a wig, eye contacts. That's I would never want to deal with that. That is that is a level of dedication I am not willing to
partake in.
I know people who wear the eye contact just for fun.
I mean,
yeah, but it's awesome. But the thing is, when you first wanted them and you see them with them on it, they can't get off nothing. What that's like, what?
You've been getting enough sleep. You got purple eyes. But I mean, like I said, I got the glasses to pop out. I've been wearing those occasionally because it's they're dumb looking. But like what I'm getting at is like, for instance, like I didn't change like anything about my hair or anything like that. And you went as Joe Montana. You didn't change anything about your hair, but
I'm an older man. What you said.
But what I'm getting at is his hair just happened to be good for what he wanted to do. Like, how do you feel about do you feel like they have to get the hair just right, or do you feel like it's okay to get it the way you want it?
I'd say the way you want it is probably just the best way to do it, because some anime characters, there's no way in hell that you're going to get your hair like them. I mean, I've seen so many people attempt to get Yugi's hair right, but I see so many Yugi cosplayers, and it's always not right. I mean, it just looks.
It doesn't look real, right?
So I mean, it's like that with so many anime characters that I mean, if you can't get the hair right, or if you're happy with the way your hair came out, then that's fine, because I know people. I have a couple friends that cosplay, and I had them sit there for hours and hours and hours and still not be able to get their hair right. And it's not that they're not dedicated enough. They put in the time, the effort. Some of that hair is just too crazy. It's too unrealistic. It's against physics. Yes, exactly.
Like you were asking me, you mentioned to me not a big deal, because some people don't do more than others, but that based on each person. Hell, I think is one of the important things, but not the most important. Like it could be, if you have time and you have the funds to do it, go for it. If you don't want, if you don't and you don't wanna, or you don't want to do it, either way you're good. It's more likely the costume is the one that more people and themselves, more people who cosplaying, and the people they would like for them to see cosplay is the bigger deal.
Yeah.
Like I seen people who dress up as Keto and don't wear the shoes. They have backup shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, someone walk around heels all day. You think they want to walk around in the heels for 4 days of the convention?
It's a comfort thing.
It's a comfort thing that I don't blame them. I can't walk with heels. I don't blame. I didn't problem being able to wear it for a day.
Yeah, I mean, I think some people, like you said, they have backup shoes. They like, some people will be like, okay, just let me put on the real ones, like for the picture or whatever, like, but then it's otherwise it's like, hey, I'm just gonna walk and comfortable. Because look, man, go to a convention, man, it's a long time, and you walk around a lot, man. It's a workout, y'all.
And then that another thing about the hair thing, you sweat a lot, right?
Yeah.
Like, for example, one of the person I was talking to, she would dress up as Tammy from Street Fighter.
Cammy, yeah.
Cammy, right? And then she was telling me that her first costume she couldn't get her hair done right, due to the fact that it wasn't possible. She dressed up as Yasami from Tenchi Muyo. The way her hair is.
Who is the son?
The little sister, the one with the bluish hair.
Oh, you mean Miku?
Very funny.
Yeah, I will too.
But the way she have her hair, it's very impossible to have her hair like that.
Yeah.
Like it's straight up and then all the way down.
Yeah.
And especially the length of it, it's very you have to draw the hair that long. So more likely not everyone can draw that hair that long.
Well, what it is it's like twin tails, but it's like kind of like realistically her hair would be long. Her hair is long, but it's kind of like has to be twisted in a way where it'll continue to be long.
Yeah, it twists it in about right here and then look down. And you don't look down until your surgery. You go down to it all the way down the back. Yeah. That type of hair length is insane in the first place. Especially for how old she is supposed to be. She's 12, 13? Am I correct? She's 10 actually. She's younger than her sister.
I don't remember.
Yeah, it should be 10 and 13, the range. But another thing about cosplaying, like it's a hobby at the same time, but at the same time becoming being more open to kids as well. Right? Have you ever seen kids cosplay?
Yeah, all the time. The parents are the ones that cosplay and they dress their kids up as like random things. So like sometimes the parents will be like Ash and Misty, and the kids will be Pokemon or like.
I sounded the other way around. The parents don't cosplay. The kid is the only one cosplaying. Like I met a 9-year-old girl who dressed up at Minimum. Like legitimately by herself with her parents, right?
That's pretty cool.
Like you mentioned, a cosplayers who wearing shoes they being perfect, right?
Yeah.
Usually, some cosplay unfortunately have friends who like hang out with them.
Yeah.
Who help them out. They hold stuff for them for the costume they're wearing. They can't really carry stuff like they want to be in character.
Yeah. I have to say a similar thing too. Is that when I went to SAC Anime, we brought my friend's girlfriend's little sister with us, and she was the only one of us that cosplayed, and she went as Inuyasha one day and Mikasa from Attack on Titan the other day. So I mean, she was the only one out of all of us that time that was cosplayed. So I mean, kids do it pretty much. They can do it a lot too.
I mean, I definitely think that's interesting, because I mean, like, so the hardest part about being an anime character is you're not always gonna stay 15 forever or 10 or whatever.
Unless you're Ash.
but that's the thing is like 10-year-olds don't look like Ash Ketchum, and then Ash Ketchum is just like this little like height away from being like a teenager. You know what I mean? But it's easier to be Minnie Moon when you're legitimately a child than when you are an adult. Like,
So, well, I'm planning to do that if I ever had nieces. I'm just about Minnie Moon.
anyways,
What? They're about cosplay. Why not take advantage of the age group and let them be able to be closer to the age? If they could, why not? I am biased in that statement, I know it.
I mean, look, like
He just
we're not gonna.
Next topic.
Next topic.
Come on, Aaron. Come on, man. Continue.
I think he broke the host.
I did that on purpose.
He wants to be the host. But no, okay. So I think we're gonna wrap this up. But I think for like kind of a last thing, we answered how we feel about the question, is cosplay too nerdy, and we definitely got into cosplay in general.
Yeah.
This is more about that. Cosplayers are people too. But I think the last thing I want to talk about in terms of cosplay is so we talked about how Halloween is like a time where you can costume or cosplay or whatever you want to call it, dress up
Yes.
as whoever you want, and you don't necessarily have to act like the person is a perk if you do. But like, how do you feel about when is it appropriate to like cosplay? Like, cosplays are kind of like almost not by design, but almost like by stigma or what have you, reserved for conventions or big events. Like, do you feel like you can cosplay whenever you want?
I mean, technically, yeah, you could. I mean, the problem with that is, even just wearing a regular costume, a lot of times people will look at you and be like, "Why are you wearing a regular costume? It's not Halloween." So I personally probably wouldn't have any problem with if I saw a cosplayer just on a random day of the week. I'd probably be amazed and think it's pretty awesome. But for the rest of the people in the world, or just the area that you're at, might be a little confused or shocked or wondering why you're in a costume. So I said ideally you should be able to do it whenever you want because you're just having fun. But there are some people in the world that will judge you for that.
Ideally, so you should be able to cosplay anytime, but at the same time, when you know you should dress up when you should. Like, for example, if you dress up as someone who you probably wear a mask, wear all black, you probably should not be walking around walking around like I'm from Los Angeles. Not be a good idea to be walking around downtown like that. Yeah. But ideally, you should, but you should also know when to do it, place and time wise. Like, for example, Japantown in San Francisco and Tokyo, I see people cosplay all the time just for fun on random days of the week.
Yeah.
No biggie. Because ideally, the only more area that people will be. But try to do that 5 blocks down the road, which is more dangerous. Might not be the best idea.
True.
It doesn't matter to be more safe about your decisions, to be protect yourself more. But ideally, you should be a cosplay whenever you want.
I think it's like you talked about a time and a place. Obviously convention is both the time and the place.
Yeah.
But
the public time and place, honestly.
But people going to the premieres for a movie dressed as a character. That's also
that's
right time and place. But and also I don't know if you wanted to rewatch a movie at somebody's house. Yeah, I'm gonna show up dressed as that character. I don't think that matters. That person's house.
I don't mean no biggie.
Yeah, but
but you're surprised the positive. What? Which cool.
Caught
me off guard, but cool.
I'm gonna come dressed as whatever, but I think at the end of it all, cosplayers are people too.
Yes, they are.
So is cosplay too nerdy?
My answer to that question is no, it definitely is not too nerdy. It's one of those things where the outside world may not completely understand it yet, But as anime and more of this geek culture, whatever you want to call it, is becoming more mainstream, which a lot of it is. I think it's going to get to the point where it's going to be more accepted in society. But as of right now, it's still in a situation where people may look at it and be like, "What the hell are you doing?" or "Why are you guys doing that?" Like I said, my family definitely falls in that category where I was being made fun of by my mom, my dad, my sister. My cousin happened to drive by Santa because he lived in San Jose, so he saw me and all the people out there. So I mean, there are definitely going to be some people that think it is, but like I said, I think it's going to get to the point where it's going to be more normalized soon.
At this point in time, it somewhat is due to the fact, like Jesus was saying, basically how it looked among society, but slowly, eventually, by the look of it, finally getting more open to they even talk about it on news that randomly, and it becoming more accepted. But we're not at that level yet because it take time. Like all things, it take time to make progress. Eventually, it won't. It'll be a norm. But right now, it kind of is known due to the fact that how it is seen by the majority of people as of now. But that just for the time being. It will eventually change.
Listeners, watchers, is cosplay too nerdy? No, because cosplayers are people too. All right, so thank you for joining us, and as always, thank you for listening to us, putting up with us. Remember, we are sponsored by Yelling Will Ensue, aka us. So I'm still waiting for that check, me, and definitely check us out at we always hawk our Twitter. So I'm at AA Landline.
I'm at Juicer5024.
I'm at Just Like Robot.
And we are also at Yelling Will Ensue, but it's got no I in yelling.
Don't worry, I'm going to put the links down there. Just look down there in the description. There's going to be a link to all three of us.
Yeah.
To our Nerds No Sports
Nerds
Twitter.
No Sports, at Nerds No Sports.
Yes.
And look forward to the other sponsored podcast about anime coming soon to a theater near you.
You don't mean theaters? Awesome.
Nope.
Or not.
Or yeah. So look forward to that, and look forward to them also being paid by themselves.
All right. Also, on a side note, I will be working on some Let's Play videos and streaming of various games. I'm probably going to start off with Fallout 4 for the Let's Plays, and I will be streaming Killer Instinct as I get better at that. I'm still learning, but look forward to that. It should be coming soon.
So do you know who you will be playing Killer Instinct with?
Yes, actually, most likely my friend Raymond, who you guys saw on our podcast from earlier. Hopefully you guys watched that too. It was Nerds No Sports. It was podcast number 2, Nerds No Esports ? But he will most likely be joining me on most of these. So look forward to that, and we'll be having a lot of fun.
It's Nerds No Sports before they were bought out by us. But, I blame the fact that Jacob wasn't on the Nerds No Sports podcast, so he was the deciding vote for us getting bought out by us.
Wait, how? The two of you.
Don't think about it too hard. Okay, we're just allowed to be louder now.
Is that the main reason why?
Yes.
Cosplayers are people too.
Hashtag. All right.
All right.